From Pacifica, this is Democracy Now! As scientists confirm a link between fracking and earthquakes, we'll speak with Josh Fox, director of Gasland Part 2. The new film looks at how natural gas drilling is leading to water contamination, air pollution, and health problems.
My throat would start swelling. I started gasping for air. I started stuttering. I started stumbling. My face drew up on my left side like I had Bell palsy.
Then we go to North Carolina, where over 700 people have been arrested over the past 10 weeks in a weekly protest called Moral Monday.
What it really means is using bills to suggest they are pro-life, when in fact they are not pro-life but pro-hypocrisy.
We'll look at Moral Mondays and a move by North Carolina lawmakers to shut down abortion clinics by adding anti-choice restrictions to a bill on motorcycle safety. But first, as over 12,000 prisoners in California enter their 5th day on hunger strike to protest solitary confinement, we'll speak with a reporter who survived solitary in Iran. Shane Bauer, author of the piece Solitary in Iran Nearly Broke Me, Then I Went Inside America's Prisons. All that and more coming up. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. National Security Agency whistleblower Edward Snowden is reportedly set to meet today with international human rights groups in the transit area of a Moscow airport, where he's been holed up for nearly 3 weeks. Snowden's received asylum offers from Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Bolivia. But in an email invitation purportedly sent by Snowden to the groups, he condemns, quote, an unlawful campaign by officials in the U.S. government to deny my right to seek and enjoy this asylum, he said. The United States has been exerting heavy pressure on Latin American countries not to help him. The latest documents leaked by Snowden reveal how Microsoft collaborated with U.S. intelligence agencies to facilitate the interception of online communications. The Guardian reports Microsoft worked closely with the NSA, even helping it skirt the company's own encryption on Outlook.com web chats. The firm reportedly worked with the FBI to facilitate NSA access to its popular cloud storage service, SkyDrive. The documents also relate to Skype, the Microsoft-owned Internet phone service. A document from July 2012 shows the NSA bragged that the number of Skype video calls being collected through its top-secret PRISM program had tripled due to a new capability. Microsoft issued a statement in response to the revelations, saying it follows the law and, quote, does not provide any government with blanket or direct access to SkyDrive, Outlook.com, Skype, or any Microsoft product. The leading U.S. diplomat on Afghanistan has dismissed the possibility the United States might withdraw all troops from Afghanistan at the end of the combat mission next year. The remarks by James Dobbins came after reports President Obama is seriously considering a total withdrawal following tensions with Afghan President Hamid Karzai over peace talks with the Taliban. Dobbins spoke before a Senate committee Thursday.
Without an agreement on our presence in Afghanistan, we would not remain. But we do not believe that that's the likely outcome of these negotiations. Unlike Iraq, to which comparisons are often made, the Afghans actually need us to stay.
In Egypt, supporters and opponents of ousted President Mohamed Morsi are holding rival rallies today. The Muslim Brotherhood's refusing to halt its protests until Morsi resumes power, even though many of the group's leaders have been detained by the Egyptian army, which took power last week. The New York Times is reporting there's increasing evidence that allies of Egypt's military establishment and former President Hosni Mubarak helped fuel the popular uprising that led to Morsi's ouster. Morsi's supporters say fuel shortages and blackouts were orchestrated purposefully to incite public outcry. The Times reports, quote, the apparently miraculous end to the crippling energy shortages and the reemergence of the police seems to show that the legions of personnel left in place after former President Hosni Mubarak was ousted in 2011 played a significant role, intentionally or not, in undermining the overall quality of life under the Islamist administration of Mr. Morsi, unquote. One man who reportedly played a key role in the protests was Naguib Sawiris, billionaire and opponent of Morsi's Muslim Brotherhood, who said he backed the opposition group Tamarad by donating offices, boosting media coverage, and commissioning a music video without the group realizing he was involved. Despite the military's ouster of Morsi and deadly crackdown on the Muslim Brotherhood, the United States is reportedly planning to move ahead with the delivery of 4 F-16 fighter jets to Egypt's military. Here in the United States, the trial of George Zimmerman for the fatal shooting of unarmed African-American teenager Trayvon Martin is wrapping up in Florida. In his closing remarks Thursday, prosecutor Bernie de la Randa accused Zimmerman, a self-appointed neighborhood watch captain, of profiling Trayvon Martin as the 17-year-old walked through a gated community carrying only Skittles and iced tea. The prosecutor opened his final statement with these words.
A teenager is dead. He is dead through no fault of his own. He is dead because another man made assumptions.
George Zimmerman could face up to life in prison if convicted of second-degree murder. On Thursday, the judge told jurors they could also find Zimmerman guilty of the lesser charge of manslaughter, which could carry up to 30 years in prison. The defense will make its closing statement today, followed by a rebuttal from prosecutors. Then a jury of 6 women, 5 of them white, will deliberate Zimmerman's fate. A Texas Senate committee has approved an anti-choice bill opponents say could virtually end abortion access in the state, setting the stage for a showdown at the state capitol today as the full Senate debates the bill. Protesters successfully blocked the sweeping restrictions last month following a nearly 11-hour filibuster by Texas State Senator Wendy Davis. The North Carolina House, meanwhile, has passed sweeping anti-choice restrictions attached to a motorcycle safety bill, prompting some opponents to arrive for the vote wearing motorcycle helmets. The bill now goes to the Senate. In another defeat for abortion rights, the Illinois Supreme Court has ruled the state can enforce a law requiring abortion providers to notify the parents of girls under 18 at least 48 hours before an abortion. 38 other states require some form of parental notification for minors. And in Washington, D.C., a House subcommittee has slipped a rider into a general appropriations bill that would ban D.C. from using its own tax revenues to fund abortions for low-income women through Medicaid. We'll have more on anti-choice restrictions and protests sweeping Texas and North Carolina later in the broadcast. House lawmakers have passed a version of the Farm Bill that expands government subsidies to agribusiness, but for the first time in 40 years does not include funding for the food stamp program. Republicans say they'll seek a separate bill on food stamps, continuing a battle between Democrats and right-wing lawmakers who are seeking deep cuts to the program. A federal judge has ordered commanders at Guantanamo Bay Prison to stop conducting invasive genital searches of prisoners seeking to meet with their lawyers. Judge Royce Lamberth ruled the searches were aimed at hindering prisoners' access to legal counsel. Quote, the choice between submitting to a search procedure that is religiously and culturally abhorrent or foregoing counsel effectively presents no choice for devout Muslims, he said. Judge Lamberth also said prisoners weakened in an ongoing hunger strike must be allowed to meet with attorneys at their housing camp instead of being forced to travel. On Thursday, the military counted 104 hunger strikers at the prison, claiming 2 had ended their strike. 45 are still being force-fed. 6 climbers with the environmental group Greenpeace were arrested Thursday for scaling the tallest building in Western Europe in order to protest Shell's plans to drill in the Arctic. The all-woman climbing team topped the more than 1,000-foot Shard Tower over a period of 15 hours. A Greenpeace spokesperson said they chose the building because it's in full view of Shell's London offices.
One of our biggest actions ever, and it really is a huge ascent to do 310 metres into the air. So hopefully this will really bring home to Shell that we will not be ignored. They need to listen to the 3 million people that are calling on them to stop drilling the Arctic and protect our...
Japan's lead nuclear regulator has admitted the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant has likely been leaking water contaminated with radioactive material for the past 2 years, ever since it was heavily damaged by a massive earthquake and tsunami. Shinichi Tanaka, head of Japan's Nuclear Regulation Authority, confessed neither operators nor regulators know the origin of the leaks or how to stop them. Meanwhile, Masao Yoshida, the manager of the plant who led the hazardous fight to staunch the 2011 nuclear disaster, has died of esophageal cancer at the age of 58. And the state of Georgia is set to put a mentally disabled prisoner to death on Monday unless the U.S. Supreme Court intervenes. Warren Hill was sentenced to death for murdering a fellow prisoner while serving a life sentence for fatally shooting his girlfriend. He was granted a last-minute reprieve before his last scheduled execution in February. A 2002 Supreme Court ruling bans the execution of people deemed mentally retarded, but Georgia is the only state that requires proof of such disabilities beyond a reasonable doubt. 3 experts who once testified Hill did not meet the criteria have since recanted. The New York Times wrote in an editorial Thursday, quote, "All 7 experts who've examined Mr. Hill now agree he's mentally retarded. If that doesn't count as proof beyond a reasonable doubt, it's hard to imagine what would." Warren Hill will die Monday at 7 p.m. from a single injection of pentobarbital, unless the Supreme Court stays his execution. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.
And I'm Juan Gonzalez. Welcome to all of our listeners and viewers around the country and around the world.